The Mangala Sutta or Mangala Sutta is the discourse on life's highest blessing. When we talk about blessings, there are two kinds of blessing. One is the blessings that we receive from outside or externally, and the other is internal. When we practice the Dhamma, we live a virtuous way of life and perform our duties and responsibilities, then we become a source of blessing, not only for ourselves, but also for others. In all ancient religions, it is understood that there are beings, such as gods, devas or deities. There are nagas and other beings who have the power to bestow blessings on human beings. The Pali Sanskrit word deva indicates beings of light, and it became the root of the Latin word deus and devus, which developed into the English word as divine. Such beings may be on the path to enlightenment, such as bodhisattvas and Dhamma protectors, or they may be on other worldly paths, and the type of blessing they are able to confer to us will differ accordingly. This is what we call external blessings. However, even external blessings can only come through cause and effect. When you understand the principle of cause and effect, you will know that in order to have all the goodness in your life, peace, happiness, success, you must do something for yourself. If you create a cause, then the effect will come. Without understanding the principles of cause and effect, it is difficult to receive the real blessings. Worldly devas may be able to help us with our worldly problems, issues such as relating to our health, wealth, relationship, career, and other worldly matters, but they are not able to help us in our pursuit of enlightenment. For our higher spiritual pursuits, we will need to connect with enlightened beings. There are great enlightened beings who, through their great compassion and aspiration, have manifested in various forms, humans as well as non-humans, in order to lead us out of samsaric existence by gaining our final liberation. In order to receive blessings, guidance and protection from such divine beings, whether worldly or beyond worldly, we need to prepare ourselves so that we become suitable vessels. Just like a water vessel or container, they need to be clean and without any cracks in order to contain water. So, at different stages of our life, we have different duties and responsibilities. When these are carried out properly, we not only become a source of blessing to others, but we also become a suitable vessel for these external blessings. So that's how we apply the principles of cause and effect. Prayers alone are not enough. Whether for our worldly gains or for our enlightenment, we need effort, perseverance, to cultivate various wholesome qualities for our wishes and aspirations to be fulfilled. Now, if you look around you, most people go to places of worship to seek blessings. They seek blessings for peace, for harmony, happiness, good health, wealth, and for the general well-being. But when they go back home, more often than not, they do all the things that are contrary to peace and happiness and to their own well-being. They will eat unhealthy food. They get agitated easily, shouting, arguing with one another, and so on. If we wish to live in peace and happiness, we need to generate the kind of thoughts, speech, and body action that will give rise to peace and happiness. What we need to understand is that all our sufferings are conditioned by three unskillful or unwholesome roots, and in Pali, they are called Lobha, Dosa, Moha. In English, we translate it as greed, hatred, and delusion. Now, there are three kinds of greed or craving that gives rise to suffering. They are called Kama Tanha, Bhava Tanha, and Vibhava Tanha. Kama Tanha, or the craving to please one's senses for sensual pleasures. Bhava Tanha, the craving for existence. And Vibhava Tanha, the craving for non-existence. The first type of craving, or Kama Tanha, is well known to all of us. It refers to the craving or the desire for sensual pleasures, that is, to seek pleasure, enjoyment through our eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and the mind. We crave for all sorts of entertainments to please our senses. And when we are not able, we get attached to such pleasures and enjoyment. And when we are not able to get it, then we get upset. We feel bored and upset. The second and third type of craving are not so well known. They are called Bhava Tanha and Vibhava Tanha. Bhava Tanha is a craving for existence, that is, to exist forever. It also refers to the craving for becoming this, becoming that, and whatever we become, we will still be faced with unsatisfactoriness. Vibhava Tanha is a craving for non-existence, that is, not wanting to become this, not wanting to become that. They are also sources of suffering. It is this kind of craving that often gives rise to suicidal tendency, because it is based on a wrong view, believing that when we die, that is the end of everything, no more suffering. So that is why it's so important to take time to listen or to study the Dharma, to understand the Four Noble Truths and the law of karma and rebirth, in order to develop right understanding or right views about the nature of our life, so that we'll be able to appreciate the preciousness of this human life. This human life provides us with a unique opportunity to develop our mind to gain final liberation. Now, as long as there are craving in one form or another, there will also be aversion or anger that leads on to hatred, ill will, and grudges. When we get what we want, we are happy. But when we cannot get what we want, we get upset and angry. When we crave or cling on to our views, thinking that we are right and others are wrong, we will naturally tend to argue with one another. So all the tendencies to craving and aversion are conditioned by what we call ignorance. Of course, when we use this word ignorance, or sometimes we use delusion, we need to understand it from the Buddhist perspective. Ignorance is not the ignorance of anything and everything under the sun. It is the ignorance of the nature of our life with regards to the Four Noble Truths. When we use the word delusion, we don't mean the kind of mental disorder as used in the psychology. So, what ignorance or delusion refers to, from the Buddhist perspective, is the lack of understanding of the true nature of the self and the world around us. Things that are painful and suffering, we consider them as pleasurable. It is because of the ignorance of the true nature of ourselves and life around us that we continue to grasp, giving rise to greed, anger, jealousy, and all the other unskillful thoughts, speech, body actions that lead to suffering. In order to reduce and eventually overcome the tendencies of greed, hatred, delusion, we need to cultivate the qualities of generosity, loving kindness, and wisdom. And we need to be mindful of these qualities and to practice them in our daily life. The Mangala Sutta speaks about the internal source of blessings, how you can live your life in such a way that you become a source of blessing in your life, on both the worldly as well as the spiritual level, leading one to eventually overcome greed, hatred, and delusion that is the cause of all our sufferings. In order to properly understand the Mangala Sutta, we must understand the context in which this teaching was given. Buddha taught this discourse some 2,500 years ago. In India at that time, there was the teaching of the 4 ashramas, which refers to the 4 stages of life, namely Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyasa. Brahmacharya is the celibate life of a student, and Grihastha the life of a householder. Vanaprastha refers to the forest dweller, and Sannyasa the life of renunciation. As these terms do not really fit into the Buddhist context in our contemporary society, we shall refer these 4 stages as 1. The preparatory stage, or the growing up years. 2. Adulthood, or householder. 3. Spiritual life. And 4. The highest attainment. Although most of the values mentioned in the sutta are applicable at all stages of our life, this discourse is best understood when we consider how the values or qualities are grouped together in relation to the 4 stages of life. The practice of metta and mindfulness play an important part in order to live in peace and harmony at all stages of our lives. The first stage of life is the preparatory stage, or the growing up years of a student. As students, they would learn and acquire different knowledges and skills in arts and sciences. These knowledges and skills are to prepare them to encounter the world. If we take human lifespan to be about 100 years, the first part of our life, about 25 years, will be dedicated to studies. Even today, by the time one goes through school and then to the university, one will be about 25 years old. The second stage of life is that of the adulthood or householder. In this stage, the husband and wife should cherish one another as well as their children, and perform all the necessary activities associated with their role. This continues until the child grow up and finish their studies. Sometimes in Asian countries, you even have to wait for the children to get married before you are free. Those who choose not to lead the life of a householder should start cultivating their minds and lead a more spiritual way of life. The third phase of life is that of a religious or spiritual life. This is the stage when people would gradually relinquish their worldly duties and responsibilities. They would withdraw from worldly pursuits and lead a more religious and spiritual way of life, going to the forest and solitary places for retreats, where they would exert effort to practice self-restraint, to develop insight into the 4 Noble Truths, and realize the bliss of Nibbana. Thereafter, they will be unshaken by all the worldly phenomena, and their minds become stainless and secure, free from the taints of greed, hatred, and delusion. Then comes the 4th and final stage of life, that is, the highest attainment. Enjoying the fruition of spiritual life, they are now invincible. Wherever they go, they will find well-being and safety everywhere. The teachings of the Mangala Sutta actually given to a certain deva or deity. Many human beings would pray to the devas for all sorts of blessings. But even amongst the devas themselves, they did not know what the highest blessings are. So they came together in an assembly and went to see the chief of the deva, Sakka Devaraja. The chief of the devas said, "Since we do not know what the highest blessings are, why don't we approach the Buddha?" So they appointed their representatives to visit the Buddha. And the sutta relates that as soon as the deva appeared at Jetavana Grove in Sravasti, where the Buddha was residing, the whole place was illuminated by the deva's radiant body. The deva then paid respect to the Buddha and then stood respectfully on one side and asked the question, "Bahu deva manusacha mangalani achintayung akanka mana sottanang bruhi mangala muttamang." Many human beings and devas are pondering about blessings. What are the highest blessings in life? Please tell us what are the highest blessings in life. Then the Buddha spoke the verses of Mangala Sutta with all the qualities of blessings classified under different stanzas.